The game of souls is tough. Being a human being, frozen in time to the holy moment, with an egocentric bipolar consciousness, literally two brains, we're of two minds, caught in the yin yang of the dualistic continuum of time and space, whizzing around the sun on this little speck of dust in a vast cosmos with a limited lifespan, all so soon to die. It seems a very difficult process of great suffering to be a human being. And I think the greatest existential problem we face is to wonder, what is it all about? I mean, why is the universe so incredibly vast? The galaxy threads and clusters, I mean, it is of a scale that just not only dwarfs the human mind, but I mean, it just is incredible. The Andromeda Galaxy is going to crash into our Milky Way, and we're not even going to know it because there's so much space between the stars that it won't even affect us. Most of space is a vast emptiness between objects. Why? Now, I think it is important to realize that the structure of the universe is exactly the same as the neurons, threads, and clusters in our brain, the pattern that makes up our brain. If you look at an electron microscope picture of your nerves in your brain and look at the telescopic picture of the universe, it's pretty much the same thing, the same structure. So I think that there is hope that we live in a vast living consciousness that we call God. Now, the concept of God is something to consider. What kind of being would God have to be, by definition? All powerful, all knowing, selfless, all loving, all creative, and in some concepts, all pervasive. This energy that pervades the universe, is everywhere and in everything, which I like to think about. I like to think about the universe as a great cosmic mind, and we're all thoughts in that mind. I've expressed that before. But in meditating on God and the consciousness of God, what is the one thing that, by definition, is impossible for God? All things are possible for God. He's all knowing, all loving, all creative. He's everywhere and everything. So what is he not? What does he need? What does God lack? That's why human life exists. We are what God lacks, and all the angels. A free will, egocentric, tiny little creature, aware of its own existence, aware of its mortality, aware of its surroundings, and now, thanks to modern technology, aware of much more about our universe than ever before, and confronted with how vast it is. We are what God lacks. We are not all powerful, all knowing. We are not in any way in charge of our destiny. We are surrounded by vast forces of geological time and history, an unforeseen and infinite future. We are confronted by an infinite and vast cosmology of the universe, and all the intricacies of our emotional responses to life, all of the complexities of our intellectual thoughts and feelings. Our inner world is just as complex as our outer world. We're involved in all of this without any knowledge of anything else besides our own tiny little egocentric focus, the mind voice in our head, which we identify with. We are separate. We're not godlike, because we're the one thing God can't have. We can say no to God's way. We can go our own way. And I'm even sure that when our souls make a plan for each our incarnation on earth, we improvise along that plan, because we're human beings. We're the little creatures of a vast cosmos that live and die for the sake of having an experience that is separate from God, that is not aware necessarily of our own innate divinity, lost forever in this cosmic vastness without a prayer, with only faith that there may be something beyond the world, and this kind of symbolic idea that comes from our dreams at night, that there's this sort of symbolic resonance or mystical side of life, synchronicities and chance meetings and other phenomena that kind of hint at the fact that with the coincidental symbolic nature of reality, there may be something more to life than just our few quickly passing years here on earth. But we don't know that. And that is the suffering that we have to go through, because we have to get old and aches and pains and illness and eventually death. It's pretty heavy stuff. And we have to go through heartache and pain and sickness and loss and grief and all these terrible things. And we do it, and God loves us. And why does God love humanity so much? Because we're allowing, through our experience, the universe, to experience the opposite of the totality of experience that is the creative force of the universe, or God. Without humanity, there'd be no play. We're the Disneyland for immortal souls, so that souls can come here and be human beings and enjoy being lost in time and space, and experiencing a separation from the totality that we re-inherit between lifetimes when we go to the dream worlds of the realms within, and reunite with the consciousness of all those that we loved in the nature beautiful garden of the spirit world. And we go there, and then we know, oh, okay, we're plugged back in. Now we're part of the cosmic mind of the universe. We got it. We live many lifetimes. We live forever. And hey, wasn't that something? Let's watch the movie of what I went through there, and let's have a great talk about it. And let's think about maybe coming back again in a new era and trying it all again and having another ride on the great cosmic ride, and throw the dice and play the game of souls. I think it's a great honor to be a human being, and I think that the big surprise when we leave being a human being behind to become who we truly are, which are purely energetic beings of the first creation that we were first created as, before we develop this trick of becoming humans, we're going to be plugged back in, and we'll know exactly what we are, and how wonderful we are, but we'll be able to appreciate it more because we've had this dark valley that we've gone through. And we'll be treated as heroes there, for like soldiers returning from the war, because we had the courage to go through this human experience. And hopefully, though everybody, has their problems and makes their mistakes and has their emotional difficulties, and has a rough ride, in the end, I think that I'm looking forward to thanking the universe for this experience, and hopefully that, despite my regrets and shame and mistakes and guilt, which there is plenty of, I did a pretty good job. I made the world a better place through my work. I tried to live with a little bit of style. To be an artist and a mystic poet is, I think, a good way to spend being a human being, and I've enjoyed it very much. And I hope to come back again sometime and enjoy it more. But I think that's the answer to the idea that why is life so hard? Is God evil to put us through this torture? I say no. I think God is grateful that through us, the universe can experience the opposite of the totality, grace, beauty, love, and perfect, refined, egoless consciousness that is divinity. And I think we all have a spark of that in our hearts. But we're egocentric creatures, so it's hard to connect to that. And that's the point. So that the universe can have an experience, and that immortal souls can have experience every now and then of being a human being. Because it's fun. We forget each time and have to start from square one and struggle and scrape our way across 100 years or so of life. That's the richness of the universe, and it brings a great totality to God that would be otherwise impossible without the human experience. Because without separation from the cosmic forces of eternity, you can't come to appreciate it. And that's the whole point of humanity. I think that the spirit world is definitely dependent on the human experience to break up the monotony of being an immortal spirit. Because the philosophers that all write about immortality, the vampire myth, for instance, Anne Rice's work especially, they talk about eternity being like a boring prison after a while. We can break that up, recycling through human experiences in time. Whether that's chronological, linear, or whether we just live whatever time we enter into for our preference at that time, I think is more likely. But, whatever. I mean, who knows? That's the great fun of existence, is we don't know. It's a mystery. Behind the mystery of life is the mystery of death, and behind the mystery of death is the mystery of life. And so it goes forever. And it's always fun. It's always meaningful. It has a sense of meaning like a great artwork. I imagine someday there'll be a shining picture of me in the gallery in the spirit world. I'll be on to other lifetimes and other experiences, but each personality that you create as an immortal soul must be precious, as my artwork is to me. It's precious bit of singular and beautiful artwork. And that's what I think it is, the whole purpose of humanity in a nutshell. Thanks for listening. Peace and God bless.